Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am your host, Jay Cluett, and this is our show where we normally cover Deep Blue Sea chapters, but now we've moved on to Deep Blue Sea adjacent films that I am generally less familiar with. I bring on a guest who is more familiar with it sometimes. Sometimes they are as unfamiliar with it as I am. And today we're talking about 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. Last week we talked about 47 Meters Down, and this time they've taken the cage away. It's as I understand it. So what is 47 Meters Down? Well, in this film, same director, Johannes Roberts, is how I'm going to assume that's said. Apologies if that is not the case. In this film, there are two sisters and two of their friends go on a impromptu cave diving expedition. And when they're in there, there's a blind shark. And the cave collapses and they get trapped underwater in some ruins with a blind shark and no way out, seemingly. Hilarity ensues. So I need somebody who wanted to talk about this film but hadn't necessarily seen it at the time of making that decision. So returning from last week when we talked about 47 Meters Down is Jess Manzo-Kite. Jess, welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me back. I'm so glad we didn't rush to talk about this too quickly, or we might have gotten the bends.
Indeed, yes. we did warn ourselves enough times that it might happen. So I'm glad that we listened to those many warnings and it didn't happen, and we're here now. So as I understand it, you hadn't seen this film when you suggested we talk about it. Is that correct?
Correct. I was like, I saw the first one. I probably would not have reached to watch this one, even though I enjoyed the first one on the one-off, the original. I enjoyed enough, but sometimes when you see these sequels, you're like, I don't know. This just seems like it might be a much lesser version, but with the excuse to talk about it, and then I had to watch it. So why not? Why not watch 47 Meters Down, Uncaged?
Yeah, it has to be talked about. It's one of those films that we can't not talk about. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. Yeah,
has anyone ever devoted an hour-long podcast episode to 47 Meters Down, Uncaged?
Not to my knowledge. There is at least one 40-minute long podcast about it that I've listened to, but not an hour long. So we're breaking new ground today. This is where our podcast comes in at 39 minutes long. So what are your first thoughts? What are your initial thoughts? Is this first time viewing? What did you think?
Okay, so speaking of movies that you have covered on this Deep Blue Sea adjacent series, 47 Meters Down to me is very much The Shallows type of treatment. While this movie, Uncaged, is more of The Descent treatment.
Yes.
And The Descent is one of, if not my favorite horror movie. I love The Descent. I need to listen to your episode, actually, because I don't know how you felt about it.
I loved it. It was great.
Okay, good.
Yeah, terrifying.
It's got a lot of similarities to this.
It really does.
And while I don't think it reaches the heights of The Descent, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty effective, and I had a similar level of tension throughout the movie. I don't know if I had it's hard to say because it's got a different kind of tension in some parts, but for the most part, I was glad that I watched it and thought it was a pretty decent, Friday night, don't want to watch anything too, important, or, you just kind of want to watch a little popcorn flick. It fit the bill for me.
Yeah, me too. I first time watch for me as well. I watched this the day after watching 47 Meters Down, and I didn't really know what to expect other than they weren't in a cage anymore. So I knew that there was a blind shark in it because Mark had mentioned that many times about this film having descent sharks. Every time it came up, he was like, "It's descent sharks. This is what if the descent with sharks is this film?" And I hadn't seen the Descent at that point, so I didn't know if that was a good thing or not. And now, having seen the Descent, I've been looking forward to watching this one because the Descent was great. I agree. This doesn't. It's funny to say reach the heights of the Descent because reach the depths. I don't know. It doesn't. It's not as good as the Descent. It's also, in my opinion, not quite as good as 47 Meters Down. because that one has that core simplicity to it, whereas this one overcomplicates itself a little bit with the setting.
Yeah.
But it's still gripping. It's still tense. It's still very well made and very well acted and very well performed all the way around. I still enjoyed it throughout, and I agree. A great switch your brain off and enjoy a good Friday night film, which is what I wanted. So.
Yeah. I feel like 47 Meters Down, it executes like very simple premises and ideas very well. And this one is not nearly as simple. But it has a lot of fun premises, and it throws a lot on, I would say, versus 47 Meters Down, which feels a lot more stripped.
Yeah, because where that one is just, you get in the cage breaks, oh no, you're trapped. This one, they have to explain, okay, so there's this underwater Mayan temple, and global warming has raised up so it's underwater, and there's, her dad's found an entrance to it, you're going to go dive in there, so they go dive in, they're going to go explore, and then there's a shark, the sharks have evolved down there. There's a lot of legwork required for the setup.
Yeah, the description wasn't super in-depth for this, and I didn't watch the trailer, so I really didn't know how it was going to play out. I don't even think the description I read mentioned that it was like an underwater cave necessarily. Or maybe if it said cave, I was imagining like a big cavernous cave, not a intricate cave like we got. And as soon as they are in these little narrow passageways swimming through, that's when the descent part clicked into me, and I was like, ooh, this has got some real claustrophobia going on.
Absolutely, yeah. I can see where, like, I feel like this could have been written as how like Saw 2, when they wrote Saw 2, it wasn't a Saw film. But after the success of Saw, they kind of tailored it into being a sequel to that film. I feel like this could have been its own script, and then they released 47 Meters Down. It does all right. And they think, okay, well, let's try and just latch this one onto that one.
Oh, for sure.
Because, well, at no point, unlike the previous film, at no point do they say how deep they are. So this film is immediately infinitely worse than that previous one. So I'm
going to go ahead and say they never go 47 meters down.
Well, for the purpose of the end of the podcast, I had to assume that at the deepest point they go 47 meters down. Otherwise, the title is nonsense. I was really
waiting for some point in the movie for them to make a reference of that, just to have some tenuous connection other than same director, similar-ish premise. Yeah. Because the worst part of this movie to me is the title, because does not do a good job communicating this movie. And I even would say the Uncaged part could have been something a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, like 47 Meters Down Ruined or something.
Yeah, ruins or I don't know.
Yeah. So, but I think that they're just banking on, like, people who liked that film might like this one too. It's just, it's the sequel thing. It's money. I don't blame them for doing that. It means you get to be on 2 back-to-back episodes. So what are we complaining about?
They did it for this moment.
Yep. Thank you, filmmakers. We appreciate it. So we've got 4 main leads who are the 4 college students who are down in the caverns in the temple. So we have Mia, played by Sophie Nellisay, I'm gonna say. Who is, we first meet her being pushed into the pool by the school bully, which this school just happens to have an open swimming pool right by the entrance, just for this purpose, it seems. Not a big pool, either.
Yeah, and I think it's a high school.
They're in uniform,
I think these are teenagers. Yeah.
So then we have her, her Mia's dad, played by John Corbett, the star of the film. Of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and I assume other things, I don't know. That's where everyone knows him from, I think. He has married Nia Long. Well done, sir.
Not to be confused with Nia Vardalos.
Indeed. Absolutely not, but no, he's married Nia Long, who has a daughter of her own, who is Sasha, played by daughter of Jamie, Corinne Fox. not the first famous daughter we'll be getting in this film, because their two friends are Alexa, played by Brianna Tew, and Nicole, played by Sistine Rose Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's daughter. So, some real Hollywood royalty in this film. But none of whom I've seen in anything else, I think. But
Same.
Did any of them stand out for you particularly? Mia seems a bit more quiet, timid. Alexa knows how to dive and wants to follow the rules. Nicole is the wild card who plays by her own rules and will die because of it. Basically. Any standout performances from you from these four?
Not really. I feel like of anyone, I thought Corinne Fox was the most charismatic, I would say. But overall, they had their type, and they executed the type, but I don't think they really went much further than that.
Yeah, it's the kind of film where you get some character development early on, but as soon as the plot starts to happen, they don't do any more character development. It's just, okay, this is who we have, and situation go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once they're in the situation, once they're trapped underwater with the sharks, it's just a case of, okay, your character types, how would they act in this? Don't develop. Just how would they, just, yeah. So you're a little bit selfish, you're going to try and get out, you're going to be deep. And the only real character development is the two stepsisters, Mia and Sasha, don't initially get on, progressively get on more throughout the film.
Yeah, I thought that was fairly effective, kind of how they banded together as a duo. I did think it was funny how Mia is the outcast, and at any high school in America or wherever, she would just easily be like the popular blonde girl.
It just happens to be there is a more popular blonde girl to put her on the pole.
Yeah, it's like those two girls could have been like almost interchangeably cast as far as looks go. But okay, sure, she wears overalls.
Yeah, I'm surprised she hasn't got a ponytail. Yes, I agree. They all capably handle the thin characters they've been handed.
I also thought the girl that plays the popular girl it's at school, the mean girl, her name is Breck Basinger.
Okay.
And I was like, is she also the child of a celebrity? But apparently that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, no daughter of Kim.
No.
Oh well. Damn, we could have had the hat trick. Oh well. Not today.
They could have cast Basinger's actual daughter.
Yeah.
I guess they couldn't get a hold of her.
And we've got still Sylvester Stallone's daughter. One of the guys who's part of the crew, his name is Kylan Rambo. No relation. Not spelled the same. Yes, and so the parents are Grant and Jennifer, John Corbett and Nia Long. Thrilled to see John Corbett. Less thrilled than I was to see Matthew Modine, but still like, oh hey, it's that guy. Kind of level of thrilled.
I find him to be very charismatic.
Yes, he's very likable.
Yes, exactly.
He's got like that kind of face you can trust. I don't know if he's ever played a villain, but he could be an effective one because you'd feel like, oh, I trust this guy. Oh no, he's killed me. Just straight away. But I like that he's playing a dad in this, and dad rock is like a plot point in the film, like the kind of music that he's listening to.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit where they're under the water and they hear music and they go, oh, it must be my dad. No one else listens to rock set. So that amused me. And they introduce him listening to Status Quo. So
yeah.
And actually, this is quite a fun soundtrack. Aztec cameras on there as well. Lynn Anderson. It's a surprising like 80s soundtrack for a 2010s shark movie.
Yeah, I was like, can you listen to speakers like that underwater? I wasn't 100% sure about that, but I also didn't know that you definitely couldn't, so...
Well, I was doubting how well they were all talking to each other underwater, so...